Fallout 4 took a unique twist on the garbage that litters Bethesda's open-world titles. It all now has a use, as materials to build up bases, modify weapons, and... one more thing. What was it? Oh, right! We can also shoot them out of a friendly cannon. But is that really the best use of this trash? Guess there's only one way to find out. Howdy, I'm Prakuza, and welcome to DevBox. Today, we're taking a bit of a break from Dark Souls content, because I'm honestly a little soulsed out after the last couple videos, and diving into Fallout 4, my personal favorite Bethesda game. And since New Vegas is from Obsidian, and Deathloop is from Arcane, that doesn't have to be a controversial take. I've also never played Morrowind. That one's deep in the backlogs, right next to Kingsfield and the rest of the Grandia series. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, right, a challenge run. Okay, so today we're going to ask the question, can you beat Fallout 4 with only the junk jet? Well, to do that, we have to start by making our character.
War never changes.
Today, that means taking this beautiful man, Dad of the Year, and starting on his journey of fatherhood. First, we check on Shaun, tell the local drunk to get off my lawn, and then celebrate our first 4th of July as a family with some fireworks. Ugh. This is why you should never get those Chinese imports. Always buy straight from Mexico. Much better sulfur to charcoal ratio for that eggy barbecue scent. This stuff smells so much like uranium, we have to hide in a hole for a few centuries. Although that time doesn't pass without incident. Some bald... Hold on, are we out of the first minute? Yeah, okay. Some bald bastard comes along, kills my wife, and steals my kid. Hey, don't you know who I am? I'm Dad of the Year here. And don't think I won't find you. Do you hear me? I'm coming for you! Well, we're finally given control again, but we don't have our weapon yet. So that means we can't start fighting the rad roaches that have started to infest Vault 111. But it's not really a problem, since we can pretty much run through here without much effort. The bugs will start to hurt us if we stick around one spot too long, but as long as we're on the move, they can't do anything. Now, all we need to do is pick up this Pip-Boy. Oh, can't pick up during combat. Huh. Okay, well, the game did give us a security baton, and we found a 10mm pistol already, so I guess we'll run into the adjacent room and close the door behind us while the rad roach is still on the other side. We've got to do the same with a second bug and a door, and it takes a few tries this time, but we get it. Now, if we hide at the other end of the room, the bugs will forget about us, must have been the wind style, and we can finally pick up the Pip-Boy, which will in turn let us open the vault and leave. And I want to be honest, this shit right here is what I live for in these challenge runs. Crushing mimics with boulders, feeding Solaire to a dragon, or now locking rad roaches behind a door. Solving problems and puzzles that the game expects you to already have the tools for, but the challenge doesn't allow for. Fantastic stuff. It's exactly the refreshment that these challenges offer to games I've beaten a dozen or more times. Especially with this particular challenge being a refresher from my typical Souls content. Well, on that note, we're back out of the vault, and I must say, it would appear that the neighborhood has completely gone to shit. I asked Cogsworth to do something about it, but he starts crying about getting radioactive isotopes out of linoleum. And things got kinda sad. So I left. It sounded like he mentioned something about killing some bloat flies and rad roaches too, but I was already on my way out. Not like I have a weapon to help him with anyway. So on that note, we need to go get that weapon already. How we do? Turns out the first thing we need to do is head to Cambridge Police Station. Oh, and meet Dogmeat on the way. And help the Brotherhood of Steel hold off an invading force of feral ghouls. I thought I was coming here to escape fighting hollows all day. And by help, I mean offer words of encouragement while I hide in the corner. Great job there, guys. I knew you had it in you. And that you couldn't actually die, because Bethesda are cowards. With the ghouls taken care of, Paladin Danse thanks me for my assistance. Apparently all of that looting I did really turned the tables on that fight. At least it makes sense this time for Reese to hate me. He might be the only one with working eyes at the station. Anyway, Danse doesn't think twice about how little I actually helped in that fight, and now he decides that I'm the perfect companion to help him clear out ArcJet systems. Which is fine by me. We'll see exactly how good of a decision that was in a little bit. For now, though, I follow closely behind, and then further as we get attacked on the road. Thank you, Danse. And I stick close when we're actually in the building. From the entrance all the way until we run into our first batch of synths. Looks like some Gen 1s. Thank you, Danse. But as we dive deeper into the belly of the beast, I see it. My beloved. Oh, hello, you beautiful pile of scraps. That's right. We finally got our junk jet. It only took 5.5 minutes. Actually, it took like 2 hours to get here in real time, but about 5.5 minutes for you guys. You're welcome. A lot of that was boring. Lots of running away from every possible encounter. However, before we put the junk jet to good use, we need to get back to what we foreshadowed earlier, and help Danse clear out the remaining synths. Ooh. Sorry, Danse. Alright, we've got our weapon in hand now. Let's put it to some good use. And that's not the worst damage. A few shots takes them out. Oh, and it seems the junk jet has a charging feature. Neat. Makes it kind of feel like a bow, I guess, and I usually love those in shooters. Hell, that was my main back in the Destiny 2 days, and again in Remnant 2. So this should be plenty familiar. That is also pretty helpful in most cases. It shoots an uncharged shot, but at least it will hit on target more often than not. And as I work on getting my FPS reflexes back, a few guaranteed hits is well worth the underpowered damage. Besides, it only takes a handful to kill these synths, charged or not. At least Danse seems impressed with me, for some reason. Guys, I might have really fried his brain back there. He really doesn't recognize that he did like 90% of the work, and I almost got him killed. As thanks, he even gives me his special rifle. I'll sell it later. Well, with the junk jet in hand and the mission complete, we can head back to Sanctuary and start upgrading the weapon. For now, all I can make is a new barrel and scope. Don't have the materials or skill for anything else. So, we've got the weapon, now what? Oh right, the rest of the game. Guess we'll start by heading to Concord and actually taking care of that first mission we were supposed to do on the way to Cambridge in the first place. I mean, it's Fallout, so supposed to has a lot of leeway. But helping out the Minutemen is definitely supposed to be the first quest, as we head on our way to Diamond City. Now, I could skip this, but I'm going for a specific ending, and our friend Preston here is a major part of that. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. For now, we need to kill off some raiders and save Preston and his little group. Once again, the junk jet does well enough to get me through the Museum of Freedom. I run into a few problems with the way that the weapon works, but we'll get back to that in a bit when it's more obvious. After meeting with Preston and co., we find our first suit of power armor and a task worthy of such powerful defenses, the Death Claw. It takes a couple tries to take this sucker down, especially with the damage of the junk jet as opposed to the minigun we're supposed to be using here. And yeah, this thing really makes me understand exactly how futile it is going to be to throw piles of junk at the monsters of the Commonwealth. Whether fully charged or with a VATS-empowered critical strike, every plate, fork, and cigarette box splats flaccidly against the stone-like scales of this overgrown lizard. This deadly reflection of mankind's hubris becomes the first wall that my own will bounce right off of. But there's a funny thing about hubris, arrogance. Sometimes there's a fine line between overconfidence and competence, and that line is drawn with determination. So I keep firing my mountain of trash, picking up more from the ground as I begin to run out, and eventually, even the Death Claw falls to the nozzle of the junk jet. That was rough. But things are only going to get harder from here, so I'd better lock in and get ready for what's to come. Although, that's for later. For now, we're following Preston back to Sanctuary, because I picked up a bunch of trash and gear from all of the bodies and didn't want to drop out of the over-encumbrance. Strangely, I don't move much slower than the rest of the group, and those who can fight manage to take out some of the obstacles on the way back. Thank you, Preston. Oh, and I even get a piece of dialogue about this statue outside of Sanctuary that I've never heard before, since I usually fast travel here and wait. Some neat stuff comes from actually walking around, huh? Now that we've actually got people living in Sanctuary, it's about time we start forming up the ranks of the Minutemen. Again, for the sake of that ending. We're eventually going to need at least 8 functioning settlements, and that starts with clearing out Corvega Assembly Plant for the people of Ten Pines Bluff. And up until now, I've made passing mention at underwhelming damage, but I've been saving my major critiques of the weapon until this moment, because this is where the difficulties of the junk jet become the most apparent. So at this point, the damage isn't the worst, actually. A fully charged shot can one-shot regular raiders, and even some of the stronger variants only take like 2 hits. Pretty good for a heavy weapon, if I'm being honest. The problem at this point, and moving on, doesn't come from the damage, or even the slow rate of fire, but more from the accuracy of sorts. For one, the weapon has a bit of an arc, and hitting enemies at a distance can be a real hassle, but that's also fine. With enough armor, I can run and gun into every enemy's face if I need. The real issue is what happens when an enemy is behind even the slightest bit of cover. If they're hiding around a corner, or behind a desk, or even behind a railing with a football field worth of clearance for bullets to pass through, then the junk won't make it to the target, even if VATS says it will. So if an enemy is behind any amount of cover at all, or standing slightly to the side of a doorway, or whatever it might be that's partially interjecting its way into the space between old Dad of the Year here and some raider, then the shot will automatically miss. In fact, it isn't uncommon for me to find a pile of junk right in front of some railing or doorway at the end of a fight as I scurry around picking up my fired ammo, because it got stopped by a mild obstruction in the environment. My theory on this is that while most weapons in the game are hit scan, the junk jet is one of few weapons like the plasma rifle that actually fires projectiles. In the case of most projectile weapons in Fallout 4, once the hitbox of the fired object comes into contact with anything else, it will stop in place and enact whatever is programmed to happen when the munitions hit their target. Think a mini nuke or missile exploding on contact. In the case of the trash from the junk jet, this is to do damage calculations and then immediately drop to the ground, although that doesn't always happen either. However, the hitbox of the trash projectiles seems to be large enough to get caught on pretty much anything that gets in the way. All of that, of course, is my best guess of what's happening. I haven't exactly dug into the data to make 100% sure if that's the case, but for any modders out there looking to improve the junk jet, that might be a good point to start at. Hell, could be a fun experiment if I ever want to get into the hobby myself, which I kinda do. This means that while the junk jet does have some range, I basically have to treat it like a shotgun or even a melee weapon at times, because I have to get up close and personal with most enemies, unless we're in a wide open field like the Deathclaw earlier. Speaking of the Deathclaw, eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed that it was in that fight that I first ran into another quirk of the junk jet. See, the main benefit of the junk jet is the fact that it technically has unlimited ammo. Because if we ever run out, all we need to do is go pick up the junk we've already shot out and slot it back into the jet. However, a lot of the ammo, especially shots fired from VATS, can sometimes glitch and will stay in place where they made contact with the enemy. Now, the prompt to pick this junk up is somewhere in the game world, but not always on the same point of 3D space as the item model itself. Resetting the area by reloading the game or going through load screens can reset the interact option, but not always. So while ammo is unlimited in principle, the practice of how the game is taped together with duct tape, fairy sprinkles, and unicorn farts means that it is equally as limited as any other weapon. Remember that one, by the way. It will be on the test at the end. Anyway, as I've been critiquing the weapon, I've cleared out the assembly plant, and we report our murder spree to the settlers in Ten Pines, who then decide to join the Minutemen and let Preston know of our successful exploits. He names me General of the Minutemen and sends me on my way to go help some more settlements, but that can wait for later. What matters now is getting to Diamond City. I was going to say finding Shaun, but that also takes a backseat for a while. Instead, we head into Diamond City, ignore Piper's attempts to get us to do her quest and have her as a companion, mostly because I won't be using companions at all for this run. There's only one junk jet after all. Also, we've already seen how friendly NPCs can trivialize most fights. Once again, thanks Danse and Preston. For now, our goal is to talk to Nick Valentine, but only his assistant is in, and she yaps something about going to rescue him while he's on some job, and blah 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 blah. Who cares? Not me for the next 5 hours of gameplay, because what I'm more concerned with is following the Freedom Trail. Also gotta stop in at Good Neighbor and say hi to my husband real quick. Sorry babe, it's a solo venture this time, but still good to see you. Then we're a hop, skip, and a few ridiculous kills away from making it to the railroad. Not the easiest trip, but we're given a warm welcome by Desdemona and her minigun-wielding friend. Thankfully, Deacon speaks up for us. Turns out he's been following us around the world. What's neat is that it actually is possible to see him in places like Diamond City and Goodneighbor, although I don't know if I've gotten any footage of it for this run. Still, nice touch, especially for repeat playthroughs. We agree to kumbaya as long as I'll go kill a handful of synths back at their old base for them. In that case, I go on the railroad tutorial mission with Deacon, and we do exactly that. Sneaking in through a secret entrance to the secret bunker under a donut shop, we kill our way through some roboboyos. It goes perfectly. No notes. Deacon even gives me the deliverance from like a mile away. I'm starting to get the idea that this run may be cursed. After that, we join the railroad for real, and are sent on a series of tasks to help everyone with their various duties. Help this synth start a new life, put up a surveillance device somewhere in the city, and finally, get Pam to send us to find a DIA catch. Head to the location, kill some baddies, grab the goods, look through the thin veneer of control holding the world together, and now we can finally make ballistic weave gear. Or buy some from Tinker Tom. And that is the full extent of what we'll be doing for the railroad on this playthrough. I mean, I proceed all the way to starting underground undercover, but that's not the ending we're going for, so as far as important points of interest go, we're done here. And we get to test out our new armor against some raiders at Hardware Town for Oberland Station. Nice. That's another settlement down. We'll need at least 8 to get the ending we're going for. This also puts us on track to take the castle. Taking back this location for the Minutemen isn't that big of a deal. We set up a firing line, and I use my power armor to tank for the team while they DPS from the entrance. However, the real problems come when we start to clear out the Mirelurk eggs scattered around the location. Looks like messing with her babies pisses off Mama, the Mirelurk Queen. And she is a bit much for us right now. We're gonna need to upgrade the build, level up a bit, and come back for this later. Alright, time to head back on that main quest. That means following the clues to find Nick Valentine. Turns out, he's being held captive in a vault by a gangster named Skinny Malone. I kill my way through the Triggermen, free Nick, and fail to talk Skinny or his girlfriend out of fighting. So, guess they both get to eat a face full of trash. How unfortunate. With Nick freed, our next step is to track down the guy who kidnapped Shaun. Turns out, his name is Kellogg, and he apparently used to live here, with a 10-year-old boy. But that couldn't possibly be Shaun, right? He was only a baby when he was taken, and that was like a few weeks ago at best. Well, either way, we need to find a way into Kellogg's place. That either means picking the lock, which I don't have the skill for, asking the mayor, which I failed to check for, or stealing the key from the mayor's pocket, which somehow worked. Once inside, we find Kellogg's hidey hole, and we get one of his signature cigars that we can have Dogmeat help us track down. Kill Kellogg's leftovers as we follow his path of carnage to Fort Hagen, but first, a little prep before we make our move in there. See, I haven't really gone over the build at all until now, and it's about time we started to pump our damage a little. Some of the perks from previous levels have gone towards armor and gun nut to upgrade my gear, but the major damage improvements come from the heavy gunner and bloody mess perks. I had the strength from the beginning to get heavy gunner, but I need to head to Spectacle Island in order to grab a bobblehead that will give me the luck I need in order to pick up bloody mess. You know, I've never been here before. What's out all the way on this other island? Another fucking Mirelurk Queen? Fight? No, stupid. Run? Yeah, run is good. Oh, hey, found the bobblehead. Okay, more running now, please. With the quickness, if possible. And we're back home. Alright, grab bloody mess for 5% extra damage. Totally worth! Alright, well, with that detour behind us, it's time to go ahead and kill Kellogg. First, we've got to go through his little tour of Fort Hagen, and would you look at that, we found another issue that the junk jet runs into. Turns out that these specific models of turrets are basically immune to being hit by the junk jet. The only consistent way to kill them that I've found is to either get lucky, and the collision works as advertised, or use a VATS critical to ensure that the shot connects. Although, it should be noted that the critical doesn't always guarantee a hit. But it'll still drain the resource, fun stuff. Anyway, Kellogg, he's a bit of a talker. Even gives me a chance to question him for a bit, but he talks in vague platitudes and hides what he really means behind cryptic rhetoric. Cool. He gets to spit in my face one last time before he dies. Well, time to put the merc down. Unfortunately, his use of stealth boys means that I can't VATS him for free hits. Fortunately, hitting him enough times makes him bleed enough that we can follow the blood trail. Or more accurately, the floating blood stains, kinda hanging in the air there. So, all this killing for money, was it really worth it, Kellogg? Because one day, you had to know, that money would come back around and kill you right back. So, Kellogg's dead, but we're no closer to actually finding Shaun, and we've run all of our leads to their ends. Oh, and the Nazis have arrived. Wonderful. And for anyone who thinks I'm jumping the gun by calling the Brotherhood Nazis, this is the room their leader gives his opening strongman speech about cleansing the Commonwealth of undesirables in. The game's not exactly subtle, but that's getting ahead of ourselves. For now, we need to take the next logical step when all other leads run dry. We need to rip out a part of our fallen enemy's brain and pick around in his memories. Obviously. This adds a little much-needed depth to Kellogg, which I actually love, by the way. I think Kellogg is a pretty good villain, and Fallout 4 really struggles to replace him after this point. Oh, also, we see a 10-year-old Shaun. Damn, we really were on ice for 10 more years than we thought. That's really crazy. Anyway, all of that memory diving does give us a new lead. We need to hunt down Kellogg's most recent target, an escaped scientist from the Institute who appears to be hiding out in the glowing sea. That giant crater from those knockoff fireworks we set off all the way back in the beginning? This is a bit of a trip, to be honest. Lots of quietly walking in my power armor, trying not to get irradiated, followed by brief moments of action as I'm ambushed by rad scorpions or blood flies or an Enclave encampment? The hell? Well, guess I'll clear it, since it's on the way and all. Oh, and I get super lucky with this Enclave soldier, letting me steal the fusion core from his power armor so he gets ejected. Definitely luck-based. Totally didn't sit here for 2 hours resetting until I got it. 100% legitimate way of getting this armor. Also, didn't realize this at the time, but apparently, this was a Creation Club piece of bonus content added to the PS5 version that I'm playing right now. And this is the strongest power armor in the game. Well, after clearing the building, including the Enclave soldier with the Tesla cannon on the roof and the vertibird that arrives to give them backup, I managed to leave with 2 extra sets of power armor. It considers this stealing for some reason, but no one at Sanctuary seems to care about it whenever I get in and out of these. So yeah, I got the strongest power armor in the game, and only really cared to put it on because it let me give it my favorite color scheme. I look like a fucking Power Ranger after drinking the ooze from TMNT. Sick. Moving on, we find another Deathclaw, and it's standing right in front of the cave we want to enter. So, guess we're doing this again. And we're done. Let's go talk to this science man. I'm sure he'll be shit. Super mutant. Kill it! Kill it! Oh wait, that's Virgil, the guy we're looking for. Guess something went wrong back at the Institute, and it's left him looking like this. Sucks to be him. What doesn't suck is getting pointed at a new enemy to kill. I mean, getting another lead to find my son. I am Dad of the Year after all. No way would I put fun combat over reuniting with what remains of my family. Although, gotta say, this mission is pretty epic. We have to track down a courser who is currently busting up a gunner encampment in Green Tech Genetics. The whole time, there's fighting right above our heads, and we're left to take out the stragglers that the courser leaves behind. And then we get a final fight with the courser himself. He uses a stealth boy like Kellogg, but a well-timed VATS puts the synth down before he can do much more damage. We also get to free the escaped synth that the courser was hunting in the first place. Neat. Nothing to do now, but jump back down to ground floor and work on getting the chip decoded. For some reason, I'd convinced myself at this point that if I continued the Minuteman questline, Sturges could decode the chip for me. In an attempt to push that forward, I attempt to take the castle again. It doesn't go well, but for different reasons this time. Turns out, it takes a lot of ammo to kill a Mirelurk Queen, and I run right the hell out. That hadn't happened until this point. The biggest problem is that technically unlimited part of the ammo, because not only is some of the junk not grabbable because it's glitched out, but the Mirelurks are also pushing me every time they claw at me while I'm staring at the ground trying to grab as much pre-war money as I can. The pre-war money is kind of the meta ammo, by the way, because it doesn't weigh anything, so it acts like regular ammo in this case. Hold on, let's regroup, buy some extra trash to fill our junk jet with, and try this again. Third time's the charm after all. So, how's it go this time? Better! My power armor almost entirely breaks, and I have to choke down roasted radroaches, mutt chops, and stim packs like my life depends on it. Because it absolutely does. But we make it through with a whole 21 pieces of trash left in my gun. Now all I gotta do is set up the castle with a radio transmitter, get some defenses in place, and the quest doesn't push me to talk to Sturges. Damn. Okay. What if I keep helping the Minutemen? We shoot that trash, then return to each settler as the reigning hero in the name of the Minutemen. Oh, and I struggle for like 10 minutes to kill this sentry bot. That thing really puts the hurt on me, and I don't seem to do anything to it unless I can wait for it to recharge its fusion cores. But I'm sure that won't come up again. Alright, now we've got Ronnie Shaw at the castle for the old guns quest. This has got to be what I'm missing. Well, in that case, all we have to do is kill a couple turrets and... the Sarge. Shit. Okay. Yes, we're jumping into this again. So, not sure if I'd figured this out better the second time, or if Sarge is a little easier because of Ronnie and it being a main quest boss, but this one goes a lot faster than that last sentry bot. And we now have access to the full castle armory, complete with the artillery, and still nothing about what to do with the chip. Maybe progressing the Brotherhood of Steel quest will do something? Well, I get to ride a vertibird instead of having it get shot at me again, and see a preview of a potential future run. Talk to the Fasci leader, and even get the title of Knight due to Dance's glowing recommendation. Thank you, Danse. And yeah, I get the opportunity to take the chip to Maxon. But I'm absolutely not giving it to the Brotherhood. So I guess it's back to the Railroad. Tinker Tom decodes the Courser chip, no problem. And we head back to Virgil to get some schematics for a teleporter. This we get to take to Sturges. That way our initial assault on the Institute gets to be on my terms, what with being general and all. So I build the machine. Fortunately for me, I already had all the parts I needed. It's almost like collecting huge amounts of trash as ammo for the entire run left me with a lot of materials on the side. Crazy. Actually, on the note of base building, I never really engaged with the mechanic in this run and only did passingly when I first played this game casually, back when it came out. So I was thinking about doing some streams of me playing through the game more casually and trying to build every single base up to full. It feels like a much larger project, so I might take a couple days a week to chip away at it over the course of a few months. So let me know in the comments if anyone would actually be down to watch something like that. Anyway, we teleport into the belly of the beast, the clean beast. Hell, it's downright pristine. Kind of freaks me out. What doesn't freak me out, though, is meeting Father, or should I say, Shaun. That's right. He's not a 10-year-old boy, he's a 60-year-old man, and the current leader of the Institute. Well, we're getting near the end here, and I'll let you in on a little secret. I didn't know what the hell I was doing when trying to get the ending I wanted. So I started doing a bunch of different quest lines. I healed Virgil, started helping the Railroad free some synths from the Institute, but when push came to shove, I found myself right here. Dad of the Year and his boy, on top of the world, looking out to the wasteland below. And that's when Shaun says this.
But now, this just confirms the truth I've always known. The Commonwealth is dead. There's no future here.
That is when it hit. Finally. Through all of the talk of the Institute about being the best hope for humanity, I now see exactly what Kellogg and those Institute goons really took in that vault. They didn't only take Shaun's body. They took his soul, his humanity. You know, they say it takes a village, but in a village full of monsters, all they know how to make is another one of their own. So, Father, as your father, allow me to do one last duty for you, as I had meant to do all those years ago. Let me fetch up your favorite toy. Right here, where you left it on the floor. And I'll put you to bed. One last time. I love you, son. Damn it. Shaun.
Okay.
Nora.
I love you. Both of you.
We love you too.
You took everything from us. But not one more inch. Do you understand me? I'll shatter this beautiful pearl you've cultured down here. I'll burn it to the fucking ground.
You better run, because if we find you, we're gonna kill you.
Time to end this. Looks like the Institute is preparing to storm the castle, and I've got to put the junk jet to the ultimate test. Oh, and when I say the ultimate test, I mean it. This fight is long and hard, and probably some other kinky words. Moist? From all the blood, sure. I mean, a real man pleases woman every day of the month. So, what's the defense of the castle look like? Well, it looks like about 100 synths, all basically from two variants. Either synth patrollers, the strongest version available at my level, or Institute coursers, the actual deadliest enemies that the Institute has to offer. And they all come at varying levels as well. There are a few in this fight that are so strong that there's a skull next to their name even. You know, the RPG thing of denoting when an enemy is too strong and should be avoided at all costs. Needless to say, these are all very healthy boys, and as a result, take a lot of ammo. Like, if I thought I needed a ton of junk in my jet to fight off the Mirelurk Queen, she was only scratching the surface. This fight took 30 actual minutes to finish, and I had to long run out of ammo by the halfway point. So a lot of that time is me staring at the ground, gathering up whatever trash was recoverable after I had already shot it. At this point, I had also picked up the Scrapper perk and put 2 points in it. This way, I could mark pretty much every material as important, and the game would make all the junk on the ground glow. A few items, like glass beakers and such, didn't get the effect, but tin cans, cigarette packs, and of course, the cold hard pre-war cash absolutely lights up along the ground. I couldn't imagine how long this fight would have taken me if I didn't have that perk to help me find my damn ammo. In fact, this goes on for so long that there was a death somewhere between these cuts, and the only reason I didn't have to redo the entire fight is because I leveled up halfway through and the game autosaved. I probably would have gone and picked up way more ammo if I'd actually been forced to do a full reset. For now though, I'm stuck here and I'm fighting for my life. By the end of this mad dash to the finish, I burned through a few dozen stim packs, eat enough food to feed a small country for a year, and break every piece of my power armor aside from my helmet. It is truly a slog. But hey, once I've successfully fended off the Institute, the worst of it is finally over. From here, all we have left is one final dungeon that will eventually lead us back to the Institute, then plant a bomb, then get the hell out. But first, we need to actually get in, which means dropping into the water and heading through a sewage pipe. It's actually a coolant pipe that pumps water over the Institute's nuclear reactor, but it's funnier to think that I'm wading through scientist excrement so I can smear it all over their pristine little haven. Also, I'd get to use the Shawshank Redemption line when I finally make it to the end. After fighting my way through an army of synths and running past a handful of turrets, I could hold my head up high and call myself the man who crawled through a river of shit and came out clean on the other side. Then we summon all of our Minutemen friends to come join as we storm the Institute's castle. Yeah, how do you fuckers like it? Another interesting hiccup happens here, by the way. For one, since I had started underground undercover for the railroad, Z-114 is out in the atrium, and he can't die, but he will fight us tooth and nail anyway. There are also a few special synths out here, and all of them need to be killed in order for the doors to open so we can move on. And what do you know? It would appear that the unicorn farts holding this game together turned stale, and one of those special dudes fell through the map, but didn't die. Which means, even though I was doing fine, I had to reset. One more try and we get through. And open the way to the reactor, while also sending an evacuation order for everyone. From there, we sprint past everyone, because I'm looking to kill as few people as possible, send them up the bomb on their reactor, and then get myself and my allies out of here. Now, finally, we get to say goodbye to this run, and I don't see any better way to do it than by letting the junk jet do the honors. Fire away, my beloved. So, junk jet, how it be? Well, I can certainly say that my own routing here definitely made it worse than it needed to be. I did absolutely no research outside of figuring out where the junk jet was, so my initial build was pretty all over the place. It's also been a while since I played Fallout 4, so I totally forgot what most of the perks were. Like, I didn't even grab Lone Wanderer until like level 26. I also had to jump through some annoying hoops to actually get the luck and strength I needed for some other perks. So, if I had actually done some more prep, picked out better special stats, and hunted down some key bobbleheads, like the heavy weapons one, then I might have had higher damage or better survivability. On the other hand, this thing kinda blows. Like, I critiqued a lot of issues early on, with the junk getting stuck in the air and any cover essentially being full cover, but I didn't really cover some of the other issues that come with this thing. For one, the damage falls off pretty fast. Like, ending this run in the mid-20s level-wise, that only really meant the toughest enemies I went up against were synth patrollers. Enemies can get much tankier, and they were already taking like a dozen hits to take down each. Since there's no real way to keep increasing the damage with mods and such, the damage fall-off happens fast, and declines until the end. With all of that said, I would absolutely not recommend this weapon past level 15. Holding its ammo weighs too much, the damage falls off fast, and it is clunky and unwieldy. Sure, there were ways to mitigate weight like pre-war money, and there were definitely more aspects to the build that I could have improved, but even if this thing got twice as strong, I wouldn't recommend it as a single weapon. In fact, considering how strong the companions are, you might be better off handing them a weapon and letting them take care of all of your problems for you. But hey, that's a story for another time. See you soon. Hey, it's that time again. The end of the video where I invite folks to come check out the Patreon, link in the description, and make good on the rewards for those currently pledged. Patreon members get early access to new content and their names written in the credits at the end of videos. And those who pledge $5 or more get their names read out, like Azul. Thanks for your support, and thanks for watching.